The 4 morning mistakes that drain life after 70. They say aging is just a number, but if you listen closely, you'll realize it's also a rhythm of quiet mornings, of tea steeping in silence, of slow, deliberate steps across the floor, of light filtering through half-open curtains, painting soft lines across a face marked by years and wisdom. But here's the truth no one tells you: it's not just the years that age us, it's how we begin each day within those years. In a small village tucked beneath the hills of Vermont, an old man named Thomas begins his morning, just as he has for the past 47 years. He wakes up alone, no alarm clock, no rush. Just routine. He sits on the edge of his bed, rubs his aching knees, and shuffles toward the kitchen. Coffee, 2 sugars. No breakfast, not since Martha passed. He says he's not hungry. But the truth, his body is starving for care. For attention, for the kind of love that doesn't come from a greeting card, but from a simple stretch, a sip of water, a well-balanced meal. Every day, we begin again, and for those of us over 70, the way we begin may be the most important thing we ever do. You see, the first hour after waking is sacred. It sets the tone not just for the day, but for how we feel, how we think, how we move, and how long we keep moving. But too often, the morning is treated like a throwaway. We skip breakfast. We jump out of bed. We ignore water, we sit still for too long, and we call it normal. But what if these tiny decisions are actually the silent thieves of our energy, our balance, our clarity? Our life? What if, as the great writer Annie Dillard once said, the way we live our days is the way we live our lives? If so, then the morning is not just a beginning, it is a mirror, and in that mirror, we must ask, are we honoring this new day, or simply surviving it? He always said he didn't need much, just a strong cup of coffee and the sun in my window, Thomas would tell the neighbor boy, and most mornings, that's all he had. But what he didn't see was that beneath the surface of those simple mornings, his body was crying out, not with shouts, but with whispers, a slight tremble in his hands, a stumble on the stairs, a fog that settled behind his eyes like a forgotten name. Skipping breakfast isn't rebellion, it's neglect, not intentional. Just quiet, just routine, just easy. But for those over 70, that easy becomes dangerous. You see, after 8 hours of sleep, your body is in a state of gentle depletion, your blood sugar is low. Your organs are waiting for instructions, and your brain, your beautiful, aging brain, is begging for fuel, not caffeine, not sugar, real nourishment. When you skip breakfast, you're not being strong. You're just delaying the crash, and when you do eat, too often, it's the wrong thing. A slice of white bread, sugary cereal, leftover cake from the fridge, quick, cheap, familiar, but inside your cells, a storm begins, insulin spikes, energy crashes, inflammation rises, your body starts to drift, and your day becomes a slow unraveling. So what should breakfast be? It doesn't need to be complicated, it needs to be intentional. Picture this: a bowl of warm oatmeal with chia seeds and berries, a boiled egg, half an avocado, a cup of green tea or lemon water. Nothing fancy, but powerful. You're not just feeding your stomach, you're honoring your brain, your heart, your memory, your future. Elderly wisdom says this: when you feed the body well, the mind follows quietly behind. And here's a truth we often forget: a good breakfast is not indulgence, it is respect. Respect for the body that carried you through war and work, through childbirth and heartbreak, through decades of dreams and disappointments. So tomorrow morning, when the sun kisses your windowsill, and the kettle starts to whistle, ask yourself, what does this moment deserve? And then eat like you matter, because you do. Eleanor was sharp. At 78, she could still recite lines from Shakespeare, remember every grandchild's birthday, and correct her pharmacist's grammar with a raised eyebrow and a smile. But one morning, she rose too quickly, and fell, hard, no warning, no time to catch herself, just a split second, and the sound of her body against the cold tile floor, a fractured hip, 6 weeks in rehab, months relearning how to walk, and a lifetime of independence gone in a blink. This is not a rare story. In fact, it's happening every day. And the cause, so simple, it's almost invisible: orthostatic hypotension, a medical term that sounds complex, but means one thing: your blood pressure drops when you stand up too fast. When we're younger, the body adjusts like a reflex, but after 70, those reflexes slow. The heart doesn't pump as quickly, the blood takes a little longer to reach the brain, and in that moment, when the head is dizzy, the vision fades, and the world spins like a carousel, gravity wins. But here's the thing: falling is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign we've forgotten how to rise. So let's remember, let's make the act of rising sacred. Before your feet touch the floor, pause, take a breath, wiggle your fingers, Flex your ankles, let the blood flow. Greet the morning before you do. Then, slowly, sit up, place both feet on the ground, feel your balance. And then, only then, stand. This is not slowness, this is wisdom in motion. You don't need to rush, you've already run life's marathon. Now, each movement can be a meditation, because when you rise slowly, you don't just avoid falling, you reclaim authority over your own body. You begin the day on your terms. There's a Chinese proverb that says, walk slowly, and you'll get there faster. In aging, this is not just advice, it is strategy, it is survival, it is sovereignty. So tomorrow morning, don't leap, don't lunge, ascend, like the sun climbing the sky, one soft step at a time. His name was Samuel, 82 years old, a retired botanist who could name every flower in his garden, but forgot the most essential element of life itself, water. Every morning, he'd step out among his roses, tend to their thirst with quiet devotion. He knew which leaves needed shade, which stems needed pruning, and which buds needed just one more day to bloom. But the one garden he forgot to water was his own. You see, our bodies, especially in the later years, are like those delicate petals in the morning sun, and while the earth outside waits eagerly for dew, our cells wake up dry. Overnight, we lose water, through breathing, through sweat, through metabolism. By the time we open our eyes, our brain is already a desert, and yet, most of us reach for coffee, or nothing at all. We ignore the thirst, not because we don't care, but because we've stopped hearing the signals. Dehydration in the elderly is not just discomfort, it is disorientation, confusion, joint pain, headaches, even increased risk of heart problems and stroke, all from something as simple as forgetting to drink. But hydration is not a chore, it's a ritual, a gentle whisper to the body that says, I'm listening. I'm here. I care. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, before the news, before the pills, before the toast or the tea, drink a glass of water. Make it warm, if you like, add a slice of lemon or a pinch of sea salt, make it sacred, because when you do, you don't just wake up the body, you awaken presence. There's an old saying in Ayurveda, water, when taken in the morning, is like nectar. When forgotten, it becomes poison. And science agrees, a hydrated brain is a clear brain, a hydrated heart is a calm heart, and for every drop we drink with intention, we build a body that can withstand the heat of the day, and the weight of the years. Samuel eventually learned. After a short hospital stay and months of fatigue, his doctor asked just one question, are you drinking water in the morning? That small shift changed everything. His focus returned, his energy lifted, even the pain in his knees softened. Now, each morning before he steps into his garden, he lifts a glass and smiles. He waters the gardener first. Lila once danced. She wasn't a professional, just a woman who loved music. At weddings, her hands would rise like leaves on the breeze, her feet knew how to find joy before her mind even caught up. But somewhere along the way, between losing her husband, retiring from the library, and the slow drift of the days, she stopped moving, not out of choice, out of habit, out of pain, out of forgetting what movement once meant. At first, it was simple, a day spent in her chair, then another, then a week without stretching, a month without walking to the mailbox, and then one morning, when she wanted to rise, her knees whispered, not today. Her back cracked like dry wood. Her fingers ached just reaching for the remote. The stillness had stiffened her. This is the quiet danger of aging, not sudden, not loud, but creeping, like ivy on the side of a forgotten house. Immobility wraps around us slowly, until we can no longer open the door. Morning movement isn't about exercise, it's about awakening. It tells the joints, you are not forgotten. It tells the blood, you are needed. It tells the spirit, you are still alive. Just 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Raise your arms above your head, breathe deep, roll your shoulders, gently twist from side to side, circle your ankles, touch your toes, or reach for them. Lovingly, let each movement be a good morning to your body. You're not training for a marathon, you're preserving the temple. There's a Japanese practice called Reigyo Taiso, morning calisthenics done in schools, companies, even among elders in the park. No machines. No sweat, just rhythm, community, consistency. They say it keeps the body young and the soul connected, and they're not wrong. Movement is memory. When you stretch, you remember that you once ran, that you once lifted your child, that you once danced in a kitchen while soup simmered on the stove. To move is to remain. So tomorrow, before the world rushes in, before the news, the phone, the endless sitting, stand, stretch, sway, smile, because motion is medicine. Harold never liked silence. Even as a boy, he'd hum while fishing. As a husband, he kept the TV on even when no one was watching. And now, at 81, he wakes up to noise that no one else can hear. Not from outside, but from within. The mind begins its monologue. Did I take my pills? What if I forget again? What was that pain in my chest last night? I miss her. I didn't call Susan back. What's the point today? It's not thinking, it's drowning. We assume the elderly sleep in peace, but truthfully, many wake up under a cloud of anxious fog. The world may have slowed, but their thoughts have not. In fact, as the body stills, the mind often gets louder. It loops, it replays, it regrets, it worries, and worst of all, it remembers. Memories can be gifts, but in the morning, they can become ghosts. This is the final morning mistake, letting the mind spiral before the body is grounded. Because what we think in the first hour can shape the entire day. So how do we stop the storm? We don't, we guide it, like a river redirected with gentle hands. We create a morning ritual that gives the mind something soft to land on. Here's what Harold learned. Each morning, before the thoughts come charging in, he lights a candle, he sits near the window, he breathes, for seconds in, for seconds out, he writes down one thing he's grateful for. Not profound, just real. The smell of toast. My neighbor's dog. A good bowel movement. And somehow, the storm softens, because the mind, like the body, needs guidance, not control, not suppression, just kindness. And when we offer the mind a quiet space each morning, not filled with headlines or regrets, but with breath, light, and presence, it listens. There's a Sufi saying, when the soul is quiet, the answers appear. And in aging, it's not the answers we need, it's the quiet. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you worry about the world, before your memories rise to greet or haunt you, sit, breathe deeply. The world can wait, but your peace cannot. The sun rises again, soft, unhurried, unapologetically itself. And so do you. If you've come this far, you've walked with us through the quiet corridors of morning, not as a routine, but as a revelation. You've seen how standing too fast can steal independence, how forgetting water dries more than the body, how stillness can stiffen the very spirit meant to move, how thoughts can flood the mind before the world even knocks. But now, we return to the reason behind it all, not fear, not control, not avoidance of death, but reverence for life, because every morning after 70 is not just another day, it's a gift unopened, a final chapter still being written. A sunrise that says, you're still here. What will you do with it? Will you walk a little? Will you stretch, breathe, or sip slowly? Will you whisper gratitude for knees that still bend, hands that still reach, eyes that still witness the sky? Will you call someone? Will you forgive something? Will you begin again? Because it's never too late to begin, especially in the morning. Legacy is not found in grand statues or long obituaries, it's found in quiet moments, where you chose presence over panic, movement over stiffness, gratitude over noise. And one day, when someone speaks your name, may they say, they lived with intention, even in their final mornings. They honored life. So, before you close this video, before you move on with your day, pause, place a hand over your heart, take one deep breath, and ask yourself, what will I do with this morning? Then, live your answer, and if this journey meant something to you, don't let it end here. Tap subscribe, hit that like, and share this video with someone whose mornings still matter, because every sunrise deserves to be sacred. And on this channel, Elderly Wisdom Health, we honor aging not as decline, but as ascent. Your wisdom matters, your mornings matter, you matter.